This is the Baking Steel Studio. Grateful that you guys can all be here. We're going to answer all your questions. This class is about you guys. I'm here as the founder of Baking Steel Company, and I want you guys to, I'm obsessed that our customers can make amazing pizza at home in their oven. Pizza, and we can do way more than pizza, but this is a pizza hangout. So let's talk pizza today. And I thought today what I'll do is I'm going to just make a pizza for you. I'm going to take you through the steps. I'm not going to talk that much. I'll launch it into my oven, and then we'll get into your questions. And that's the best part. Don't be shy. If you have any questions, none of them are silly. I've made literally probably thousands of pizzas now. I should keep track on my steel. And I've gotten through a lot. I've got some good days and some bad days. I've got a lot of experience with dough, pizza, ovens, fermentation, flours, you name it. I'll help you through it. But again, we are obsessed to make sure that you guys can make legendary pizza at home. I think we got the tools to do it. We have the ingredients. Let's do this right now. So I'm going to take you through what I did today. I made dough on Monday, and this is our 72-hour dough recipe. We love our dough to ferment for several days. There's a lot of great factors when we do that. One is flavor and texture. We won't talk so much about the dough right now because we made the dough already. We'll do a dough hangout later. I've got an electric oven here with my baking steel. I'm going to show you guys. This is my baking steel. Okay, this is one, not in my oven, obviously. It's a baking steel. I've got that in my oven. I actually have two in my oven. I have one on the top rack, one on the bottom rack. I'll give you guys a peek inside my oven as we're making this pizza so you can see it. I've been preheating my electric oven at 450 degrees Fahrenheit using convection. I always use convection no matter what I'm making, but in particular pizza, I want as much heat as I can. 450 because I like to use the broiler, and I'll get into the facts of why I use the broiler at on my electric oven, why I only preheat at 450 versus 500. I trick out my oven. That's what I do. So let's get right into this. I'm going to make pizza. I'm going to move my cameras down so you guys can see exactly what I'm doing. Well, I balled this up at about 8 o'clock or not, maybe 9 o'clock this morning. And this is a 250-gram dough ball. And it's balled up, and now it's been proofing. We call this the final proof for the last 3 hours. And what happened, oops, sorry, wrong person. You want the top-down view here. Let's go like this. You see my dough has been proofing, and you start to see the bubbles. It's almost down to room temperature, which is kind of ideal to stretch it out. We're gonna let gravity kind of do its thing here. I basically sprinkle a little bit of flour on my countertop, right? Place my dough on top, and I'm just gonna lightly just kind of press it out. Okay, just look at those bubbles. Aren't they beautiful? Again, I'm not going to talk much. I'm just going to show you what I do. You guys write your questions in the comments there, and we'll get to them all in a little bit. My pizza peel, I dust it with semolina flour and flour. Those are my ball bearings. Put that aside and use my dough. Look at the bubbles. Aren't those amazing? Gorgeous, right? Two schools of thought. I can either pop them or I can leave them. I'm gonna actually pop this. This is like, I never do. Pop. I like the bubble on the outside. I'll leave those. And I press. And now I just kind of lightly tug my hands like this. And this is called the gravity stretch. Right? I just keep pulling, and you can see it starting to get bigger and bigger, right? It's about 7 or 8 inches now. Let's go to this angle so you guys can see me. Watch this. So I just let gravity do its thing. Turn. Getting bigger, right? That pretty? I'm going to go put this on my peel. I'll mess a little bit here. Here's my peel. show you what I'm gonna do. Boom. Abundance. My dough goes down. Isn't that gorgeous, guys? And now I like to pinch it a little bit. And it gives it a little bit of texture. You can see the texture on the edges. I don't like any two bites to be the same in my pizza. That's just my thing. Everyone has their own kind of thing. So I kind of stretch it with a pinch. And now I like to do this one more time. And now, look how beautiful that is. This is really important. I want to give this dough a little jiggle. So it's sliding like a puck. So it's moving back and forth. If it's not, then I'll put a little flour underneath that corner that gets stuck. And I want to continue this as I go, okay? Let's talk about my sauce. I'll talk about sauce after. I'm going to just make this thing. Just make it. Crushed tomatoes from Italy. I'm going to go heavy on the sauce today. I always say less is more, but for me, I'm going to go a little heavier than I usually do, just because I feel like it. That is groovy, right? Even a little heavy, we go a little bit more. So a little bit more. Long tomatoes. And I'm careful not to get any sauce on my board. If I do, I want to clean that up right away. Let's just say, for example, I got a little sauce here. Before I do anything else, I want to make sure I remove that because otherwise my dough is going to get stuck. So it's really important to dry that up, put a little bit more flour down so I can still kind of shake it, give it a little jimmy, if you will, okay? I'm gonna give you guys a different angle now, so you can see here. So let's go to this camera here. You guys can see, isn't that cool looking? My cheese. I'm gonna grate some Fontina cheese, right? Just kind of grate it right on there. I got a lot of sauce. So I'm gonna be a little bit more mindful of my cheese. I don't want to go too heavy, right? And then I've got some fresh mozzarella. I'm gonna do it this, is just literally break it off into little pieces. That's it, guys. That's my pizza. It's gorgeous, right? Uh, that's my pizza. All right. So now I'm gonna explain what I'm gonna do. I've got my oven preheating my baking steels on the top and bottom shelf. I'm gonna use one of those steels today, but I'm gonna switch my oven to broiler. And I do that because I've been preheating it at 450 degrees. I got an electric oven here. When I switch it to broil, that oven's it's not too hot. It's gonna kick in that broiler within a minute. It's gonna be red. We'll give you a shot inside my oven. Those broilers will be ripping hot. And when those broilers turn red, that's when I go in. I really try to time it that carefully. If I have a gas oven, you're in luck because gas oven broilers typically, once you hit that switch, those burners fire up and your broiler's on almost instantaneously, which is beautiful because now you can get your steel even hotter than you could with an electric oven. But this is electric. So my trick is to preheat at 450 instead of 500. That makes a difference. The next thing I want to do is make sure my dough is still going to be it's still loose and sliding like a puck on here. That's critical, okay? Let me show you again on that. You can see here, right? I'm gonna give it a little slide back and forth. It's ready to go. Back of my peel goes to the back of my steel. I kind of just jimmy it off into the oven. I'm gonna show you how we do this. My oven's gonna be probably ripping hot now. Let's go in. Boom. Guys see that? Let's take a peek inside. My broiler, can you see that? It's really ripping hot red, right? So I'm gonna take my pizza. drop it in, just slide it off super carefully. And now close it up. I'm gonna put my timer on. Always use your timer, 2 minutes, set. And the reason I like to use the timer, because if I don't, and I'm answering a question or talking to a guest, I'm going to burn that pizza. So always be mindful of using a timer, especially for that first 2 minutes. I find that 2 minutes might be a little long, so I might actually peek inside at 90 seconds to see how it's doing. But at least I know I've got the timer, 2 minutes. It shouldn't burn too bad. But we'll take a peek at the 2 minute mark or maybe right before then and see what it looks like. How's that sound? And if you guys are thinking of some questions, like now's the time to start dropping them in the box and we'll get right to them. This is fun. This is exciting. Pizza, the tomatoes. I've been really loving these. I'm not even sure I'm going to say it right. Isola tomatoes, DOP. They're fantastic. All I do, I crush them. I might pulse them a little bit with my food processor. That's a 1 minute. And I add a little bit of salt. And look at these. I mean, I don't know if you can see them. Let's see if we can get a peek here. Like they're just awesome tomatoes. I got them a little chunky, so not too pulverized. And they're going to be so good. They taste. So by the way, when you're tasting tomatoes, literally just taste them cold like that. They taste amazing. So already, and all I did was add sea salt. Sea salt, that's it. Let's go inside the oven again, guys. The moment we've been all waiting for. Let's do this. All right, so it's been about almost 2 minutes. Let's begin. Oh, yeah. Do you see that? Isn't that gorgeous? I'm going to turn my broiler off, go back to bake, multi-back. For me, it's gotcha. I'll go back to, I'll go to 450 if you will, I guess. Right? I can go to anything you need higher at this point. Isn't that pretty? So now my broiler is going to be off. I can bake for 2 more minutes. We will have a 4-minute pizza in just a minute, which is mind-blowing. Still today, I'm blown away. Like 4 minutes, we're making incredible pizzas. Sometimes it might be 5 minutes because I keep that oven open too long. If I'm really dialed in and focused on what I'm doing, I want to not open that oven up. Once or twice because you want to spin it. Might want to spin your pizza once. I didn't even spin that one. I could have. Be mindful of that. Other than that, try to keep that door closed. You want to keep all of that heat inside that oven. I hope that makes sense. Let's get to some questions. Okay, what dough is this? So Marion, this is our 72-hour pizza dough. It's on our website. We actually have a search bar on our website. Just type in 72-hour dough and it'll pop up. It's phenomenal. If you have any questions on that, now's the time to ask too. We'll get to it. 1 minute down, got 1 minute to go. I'm a big fan of central milling flours. Thanks to your suggestion. I like to make 14, 15-inch pies, like a New York style. I've been using Central Milling's High Mountain bread flour and wanted to know if you have experiment with mixing 2 flours together. If so, what have you done? Great question. Yes, I have. So he's asking, Central Milling makes incredible flours. In fact, that's what I use often. Like I've got a big bucket of it here, got a 25-pound bag, this. I keep it on, I'll show you. I'll show you what this is. I got this on wheels. It looks like a little trash barrel, but really it's for flour. And I've got 25 pounds of flour in there. And I go through it quite a bit. It's just nicer to have it on wheels than opening up the bags all the time and making a mess. So Central Milling, that's inside that is Central Milling's High Mountain bread flour. It's very high protein. I absolutely love it. Let's take a pause and go back into the oven. See what we got here. Can you hear that oven beeping? We turn that thing off first. Uh-oh. There we go. All right, cool. So let's go inside. Let's take what we got, see what we got here. Oh my goodness. Does that look amazing? I'm gonna look underneath here. Because I have a lot of sauce, I'm gonna give this a little bit longer because the sauce, what I did, I added way more sauce than normal, which I love. However, it seeps through the dough a little bit. It's gonna take a little bit longer to bake. And I'm just gonna wait like maybe another 30 seconds and I'm gonna pull that thing out. So let's just do this. I would stop for some reason. I don't know, I must have turned it off by accident. I'll just do one more. How's that? That way I won't forget. One more minute, and then we'll go back in and see what that looks like. So anyway, I hope that is. So as far as taking your flours and combining them, it's a really great idea. Experiment. I've done like 00 and bread flour. I've done bread flour and all-purpose flour combination. In fact, I think our baguettes, we did a little bit of a combination, which we loved. There's no right or wrong answer. You know, what I love, you might find to be okay, and what you love, I might say the same. The fun is the adventure. Take the chance, take the risk, and like make a batch of dough with 50-50. Good place to start. Of flours that you already love, and let's combine two that you love and see what happens. You might go 75-25. There really is no right or wrong answer. Be mindful. If you're doing a longer fermentation, 2 days, 3 days, you're going to want a strong flour. Okay. And that means strong. Like, we'll get to that in a second. I'm going to pull this pizza out. Actually, I'll just do this. I know it's going to be done. Ish. Oh my goodness. You guys got to see this. Got to see this one. It's gorgeous. You see the colors now. Look, underneath is cooked, right? Look at the red color of the sauce. Oh my gosh, right? See the flour, my thing here. So I'm going to give you guys a top down so you can see exactly what I'm looking at here as well. Look at that. Now, this color is not as good from the side because of the lighting, but it's dark out today. Isn't that gorgeous, guys? Got some nice char on top. It's beautiful. So let me go back to this camera because I think this is the best view for you guys. Underneath, if I can get like this. Underneath, boom, right? Crispy and gorgeous. Now I could probably go another minute on underneath, but you know, I'm gonna reheat this and probably bring it back home for my kids later. It's really gorgeous. It's amazing. Every time. It's like I don't even know what the word is. Someone give me a word. It's great. Delicious. The aroma, smells, the crust. Again, I've done this 1,000 times, and each time I'm just as excited. No two pizzas are alike. They're like snowflakes. Make them all unique. This one is heavier on the sauce than I typically go, but I kind of like it because I love the tomatoes. I love the crust. Can't go wrong. Let's get to some more questions from you guys. Maybe get a little of the pizza in there again. Can see a little bit of gold. Yeah, right. How's that? I made 72-hour dough and it looked great out of the fridge, but never did anything at room temp. It was very flat. Okay, great question, Michelle. So you went, I'm gonna go, I can't do that. You went 72-hour dough and it looked great out of the fridge, but never did anything. If I make a batch of dough and it doesn't do anything, I mean, a couple of questions would be when you remove it from your, like today, this morning, I removed my dough from the fridge and I made dough balls. The dough is cold. I balled them up. They rested for 3 hours, and in that resting period, the gases try to like escape out of the dough, and they really can't because we trapped them in, and it makes the dough rise, and the dough slowly comes down to room temperature, and that's why when I stretch this dough out, really gravity did all of the work. If I made a batch of dough and I'm not getting that same result, a couple of things. Maybe the dough, the yeast wasn't right. Maybe it's old yeast potentially, or maybe you made your dough balls and you didn't let them rest. If I made pizza, if I made a dough ball and I don't let it rest, I'm not going to be able to stretch it out. The dough's going to be very, very elastic. It's going to keep snapping back, be very hard. That final proof, which we call like that last thing, that 3 hours, final proof is super important. Right? Awesome. Yeah. All right. I hope that answers that. I use the Kamado Joe with the dough Joe. Okay. And don't have broiler option. Oh, it takes 9 minutes. Yeah. So Julio, if I'm outside, a whole different process. You don't have a broiler, correct. So you're gonna do a slow, like New York style bake. Just be mindful again, not to get too hot because that baking steel transfers that heat so fast. You want to keep that grill around 400 degrees Fahrenheit. Obviously, you don't have convection, you just have air blowing, like naturally, right? So yeah, be mindful, different setup outside. If you use pepperoni, what brand do you favorite and where do you source for smaller bags? Oh, so I've had a lot of experience, doing a lot of road trips and pizza on the road. Boar's Head pepperoni natural casing is readily available at most places I found. That's a really good pepperoni. I get the kind in a stick and I slice it up myself into like maybe 1/8 of an inch. I find that's a good thickness for like curling up. The natural casing is really delicious too. Hope that answers that. And can you discuss benefits of multiple kneading of dough? Mark, can you elaborate on that? Multiple kneading of dough, not quite sure what that might mean. However, when I do knead dough, I do it by hand. If I'm making dough for my first or second time, I'm not like really familiar with the process, I put a timer on for 3 minutes and I'm just kneading my dough. And what I'm trying to do is just knock all the dry clumps out of the flour in the water, let that water hydrate the flour, if you will. But by kneading it for 2 or 3 minutes, I know I'm knocking all the dry clumps out. That's it. That's all I'm trying to do. So not a lot of work, but it is important to try to get the entire batch without any dry clumps. I put them in balls in the fridge. I put them in balls into the fridge. I should do it after. Yes. So if you put your balls into the fridge, I do it the opposite. I take my batch of dough out, make my dough balls, and put the dough balls at room temperature, covered for about 3 hours. Because you want to get that dough, if you can, back to the room temperature, which is typically 68 to 72 degrees Fahrenheit when we're doing our tests. When using one steel, do you put it in the oven, top rack, bottom rack, and what temp? Great question. Let's get back. I only use my baking steel. I love it, right? That's great. So if I'm making pizza, like today, I have got 2 steels in my oven. I only used one because I'm only making one pizza. If I'm making multiple pizzas, then I'll use multiple steels. For one pizza, if I'm going to your home, you invite me over, hint, invite me over. I'm going to make pizza with you guys. I'm going to bring one steel. I'm putting it close to the top rack, about 7 inches from the broiler, because I love to use the broiler. And that's why one steel is more than adequate. When 2 steels come in handy is when I'm making multiple pizzas. So if you invited me over and we have 10 guests, I need to bring, say, 10 doughs. I want to use the top rack and now the bottom rack. And what I'll do is I'll have the cycle, I'll rotate, launch on top with the broiler on for 2 minutes, move that top pizza down to the bottom steel, and then launch a new one on top. And you're gonna fudge around with the broiler a little bit, but that system, every 2 or 3 minutes, I'm cranking a pizza out of the oven, and it works beautifully. How do we know the flour is strong? So on the bags, let me see if I have a bag. Got some central milling flour here. It'll tell you on the bag. I don't even know where it says it on here. This one says right on the back what's in the bag. You guys can see. Right, you can't. The camera's not going to pick it up. Anyway, it says right here. I'll read it to you. Okay. It says what's in the bag. Protein is 13.5%. This is organic high bread flour. I love this flour. I think it costs $10. at Central Milling, and it cost me $15 to ship it, so $25. I'm gonna make, gosh, forget the math. I'm gonna make like 12 pizzas out of this. I think it is something crazy, maybe more, maybe 15. My cost is like $2. So even though it's expensive and exuberant to ship this stuff in, it's worth it. It's beautiful flour. Buy a few different bags, and it'll kind of water that cost down a little bit. But really, what it does is it's worth it. This pizza cost me, gosh, $2 the crust. I used maybe a third of the tomatoes, not even. This is one can. Look, I still got this much left. I could make 4 more pizzas with it. So I could make this whole night call it $1 for the sauce, $1 for the cheese, $4, $4.50, ridiculous. And this is like in New York, the average pizza price right now in New York City is $31.95 or $33. We can do it for $5 at home, and it's just as good. So again, and that's with the exuberant $15 shipping charge to buy the flour. So when you break it down, don't hesitate. I'd go for, and it's organic and amazing. I hope that answers that. All right. Advantage of new Baking Steel Pro. Julio, so great question. I don't have one here. I've got a plus here, I think. I'm using the originals in my oven. The Pro is 16 inches square, 3/8 thick. It's massive. Now, what the Pro is going to let me do is make pizza. This is a peel. Most pizza peels that you buy at Amazon, kitchen stores, wherever you are, okay, are 14 inches in diameter. This one is 14 inches in diameter. Guess what our steel is? 14 inches in diameter. So really not going to make, we don't want you stretching a bigger pizza than going to your steel and going, oh no, what do I do? So we did that math. We got it. Most pizzas that we make at home are 14 inches or smaller. However, some people, the aficionados, the avid bakers, the diehard pizza makers want to make New York style at home. Most home ovens go about 16 inches deep max. So we've got a steel called the Baking Steel Pro that fits in there. It's 3/8 thick, so it's a little bit thicker. It weighs 28 pounds. This one, by the way, by comparison, is 15 pounds. So it's almost double the weight of the original. And when that does, if it stores a little bit more energy, it doesn't get hotter, but it stays hot a little bit longer. So, and it's marginal, but if we're making a 16-inch pie, now we got a bigger peel to match that. We have a 16-inch round peel that matches the round steel. And now you can make, this is probably a 10 or 11-inch pizza, which is awesome. You can imagine making that, stretching it out to like 15 or 16 inches. It's massive. It's so good. I think the bigger slices taste better than the smaller slices. I don't make many of those in my studio here because typically I'm just making 1 or 2 pizzas at a time unless I have guests, but they're great. So that's the advantage of the Pro. Long-winded version. What brand was the dough? So this dough was 72-hour dough made with Central Milling, high gluten bread flour. And we'll do a follow-up email with all those details. Did you ever use King Arthur high gluten flour? I have. King Arthur flour is awesome. I buy it often. It's I probably have some in my cupboard here. It's a really nice flour, great product. I buy the organic version of it, which I think organic's important when we're talking flours. And I do like it. Very good flour. Oh, you doubled. Okay, so Julio doubled the 72-hour recipe. Oh yeah, so he doubled the recipe. Again, just double all the ingredients, make double. He doubled the amount of dough. So he basically made 2 pizzas in one, which makes it huge and awesome. I love it. And how do you reheat pizza if it made earlier? So Patricia, great question. That's what I'm going to do later. I'm not going to slice this pizza yet. I'm going to bring this home to my kids. And I baked this to probably about 80% doneness intentionally because I'm going to take this pizza home. I'm going to heat up my baking steel at home and finish this pizza for like 2 or 3 more minutes, kind of reheating it. And it's kind of how they do New York slices in New York City. They just kind of reheat those things on their deck ovens we're going to do the same thing. It almost makes that bottom crust even better because it's like double cooked, if you will. So it makes it a little bit thicker. It's hard to explain that marginally, but it makes it really awesome. Great way to reheat it is directly on your steel. What will the steel for the uni be back in stock? We're making them now. They should be back in stock probably next week or the week after. Very close. I think they got to ship and then load in. So we might put them back on the site within, first week of March, likely. Anybody else have any questions? Amazing. You guys are great. Love doing these classes with you. Pizza was incredible. You can see this again, right? Oh my gosh, look at that, right? Isn't that pretty? I devour it myself. Don't tell my kids I made it. Right? Let's see. When pizza gets cold, I wrap it in aluminum foil and freeze it. I get them out. Oh, yeah, great idea. So Julio takes them out, chops them up into kind of portion sizes and wraps them in foil and freezes them and then reheats them. Great idea. I love it. Thank you. Can you do class on Detroit pizza? Yes, that's a great question. Let's do Detroit in March. In fact, we need some topics. We're going to hopefully have a guest or two, some really cool guests coming up too. Can't wait. Anybody else have any questions? If you do, email me, andres@bakingsteel.com. Make sure you give us a follow on if you're watching this on YouTube or you're on Instagram @bakingsteel. We would love to see you. Where do you find the dough recipe? Roxanne, go on to bakingsteel.com in the search bar, type in 72-hour dough, and it'll be there. We'll also give a follow-up email with the details. Right now, after seeing your pizza. I love it. Someone made a batch of dough and they can't wait the 72 hours. By the way, 24-hour dough is also very good. So in other words, make the dough. Maybe the first day, take a little piece off, make a pizza with it, put it in the fridge. The second day, I perpetually have dough in my fridge all the time. Same reason. Where do you buy mozzarella cheese? I buy Boarhead, but it seems expensive. I buy all my cheeses currently at the Whole Foods in Grand Rapids. They have everything I need there typically, and they've got good knowledge. Their employees typically in the cheese department are really knowledgeable, so they can give you some good insight as far as meltability, etc. And I've been doing that for years, so I love Whole Foods Market for their cheese. You're welcome. How do I make sure I'm on the email list? Marion, give me an email, andres@bakingsteel.com, ANDRIS, and I will make sure you're on that list. Awesome. And what is beneath the kneading the dough on multiple stages? What benefits of kneading the dough in multiple stages? So for our pizza, we knead it once and let it sit. And then we ball it up, and that creates a little bit more tension. But really, like baguettes, we do a lot of folds, and we're just kind of folding over the glutens, giving it like a tighter structure of the network of the glutens. And you can see why baguettes kind of are long and skinny, because we shape them that way and we fold them a lot. And it's a little bit more dense than like our pizza dough with the bubbles. That's what I could think about as far as like folding dough. Some people do it with pizza dough. They will kind of work it more than we would, if you will. And everyone's got a different opinion on it. How much cooking time do you add if you want meat toppings? If I'm doing meat, I might do a little less time with the broiler. But typically, if I'm doing sausage, I will put the sausage on raw and cook it. It takes about, in that smaller portions, I break them off into smaller pieces. And typically, they'll cook in the 5 or 6 minutes. My pizza is in the oven. I hope that answers that. You guys rock. Grateful for you. Thank you for being here. Any questions, let me know. Andres@bakingsteel. We will see you in a couple of weeks. And if you have any special requests for classes, just please let me know. You guys rock. We could not do this without you. Thank you, guys. See you soon.